Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi Itai, and I'm streaming from Lagos, Nigeria to West Africa to the entire world. This is the Good Morning Education Show, and this is Friday, a special edition it is because we're going to be talking about something special. And this is the last Friday in the month of March, and I believe it's going to be a great time. I have all my analysts getting set and getting ready to move. I have Titi Adeosi, also known as the co-founder of Niger Kids, also known as Dr. Titi Adeosi, also known as the lady that says, hello, good morning, Titi, how are you?
Hello, good morning, Lagos. Good morning, everyone hearing us from all over the world. This is the Good Morning Education Show. We are happy and we're excited to have you. Good morning, Rotimi. It's a wonderful Friday morning, and we are happy. We are excited. Of course, we're also.
It sounds like it sounds like the intro of the Grammys or something. Titi, are you preparing for entertainment?
Who knows? Who knows? Your people say that there's not only one road to the market. Good morning.
We also have Fee in the building. Fee, how are you? Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning. This is Adeosi. I always like to hear you say hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Fee. Looking nice, bright. Not your usual corner, but it's good. Nice to see you. It's nice to see you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So we're having a great time today, obviously. And topic, I'm sure a lot of people were wondering what the topic of the day will be. And we're going to be discussing something quite interesting, a little bit off the usual, but it's still the same spirit of developing, building, and stuff. We're going to be talking about raising student billionaires. Raising student billionaires. Are you excited about the topic?
Yeah, it's an exciting one.
Fantastic. How about you, Finn?
That's a very interesting one. Yes, we really need to raise students who are billionaires before they get before they go too far. Let's lay the foundation, and I'm really, really looking forward to that this morning.
Okay, that will be done. But of course, we actually mentioned that we will be talking or reminding people about the Global Money Week taking place, the webinar taking place tomorrow. And if you can look at the screen, you will find out the link is there. I believe.
Wow, Rotimi's internet. I was not going to be like yesterday.
Not again this morning.
Good morning. So everyone is invited for the Global Money Week webinar that's holding tomorrow. That's the link. Register. We already have 1,000 registered children, so we're excited. We can't wait. We can't wait till tomorrow. We have lots planned. It promises to be fun and educative. Rotimi is back.
Okay, so I was trying to get the details. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, fantastic. So there you have it. The details on the Global Money Week webinar. So please make sure you don't miss out on this opportunity. Wherever you are, whatever part of the world, whatever part of the country, please be a part of this. Thank you so much. And we'll be moving straight to the news this morning. As usual, we'd like to start with the first one, which says secondary teacher disappears with 2 million WAEC enrollment fee in Edo State. Wow.
So I was reading through the article. It says that they gave him the money to pay the fees. I'm wondering why. So they're still trying to investigate. So the police, a parent flagged it, and they came and just arrested the proprietor, and other key people. But it just shows more and more, while we always need to, as much as possible, you know, pay to the final user. That's why even schools educators never always encourage paying direct account to schools account, and then discourage parents from physically handing money over to teachers. I mean, this thing is nothing new. It has been there, it will be there, unless you know either it's for lesson, for you. It's important that as a school, you discourage handing over. And it's not even only at schools. Like when I go and want to buy something, and they tell, "Oh, madam, this is my account." But when as educators, we are discerning. You need to always have the right checks and balances to prevent things like this happening. Someone will always be an opportunist and the fraud an organization. So it's a sad thing. I'm hoping that the important thing for me is that let them learn from it in terms of what updates should we do to our processes so that this would not reoccur. And it's not only in WAEC, it can be in anything.
That's true. It's sometimes important that people do not, and I'm sure a lot of people probably would have thought the figure or the amount was not much as you look at it from the individual. So let's say, for example, you have someone who is taking 5,000 naira from every student for the enrollment or whatever it is. So 5,000 naira, if you wait, it's not looking like much money. But by the time you multiply the number of students registry with that same individual, then that's not small. Like they say, little drops of water make a mighty ocean. So, and it's sometimes tempting, especially when you look at it. If it's less than a quarter of the person's salary, you can still play risk, that kind of thing. But talking about 2 million, 2 million definitely is, and it's going to cause a lot of outcry and all that. So let's just avoid tempting people with sticky fingers and just get to do what we need to do and move out of this. That's Finn, you want to say something?
No, no, no. On this matter.
Rotimi,
Yeah.
related to this is the news that has to do with how Naked Polytechnic has eliminated paper trail, and it's really what we should be saying. So the more you, or I don't want to use the word, the more you digitize your processes, the more you remove a lot of all these funny things. So let me give you an example. So this university has made their university smart. What that means is that from your registration, everything, all that queuing, going to one lecturer's department or anything, they've eliminated it. So that means you can come in as a student, register online. When it's time to see your results online. So many things that they've done. When it's time to pay fees as well, pay fees through bank transfer online. And a lot of these things just make the life of the school generally better. School management system. So when you think of things like what Edverse is doing, the school work is hard work already. A lot of the things that you can eliminate, a lot of the paperwork things that add stress to the teacher or to lecturers, it will be good to do, and also stress to the student. So I want to check my result. That one that you're waiting. Did you get the email? Did you not get the email? Then you're waiting, they use your name. But when you go to a portal, then you can do a lot of that. So I'm advising schools on the need to see how to begin to, little by little, as inexpensive as they can, help them manage some of these processes that are being automated. Also, it also simplifies the life of the parents. I have a parent that complains to me that, oh my goodness, she hates paying school fees of her kids because every term they'll send her a letter saying she has not paid. So she made it by making sure she did only bank draft. So bank draft, she'll go do a bank draft just as a trail. She didn't used to do online transfer because she didn't want them to be telling her stories, And it just became very stressful every term. I told her, "Are you for real?" She said, "Yes." Every term she has to do reconciliation with her account because there's always something. So it's stress all around. Stress for the parents, stress for the school. So we really need to see how we can leverage on technology to just ease some of these things and also prevent some of the fraud that can happen along the way.
All right, thank you so much. And while you were speaking, we had Rhoda walking to the building or connected into the building, not walking. And then, of
Good
course,
morning.
Gochi, good morning as well.
Good morning, Mr. Timmy. Good morning, Mr. Delcy, Mr. Digbo, and Fee, Honorable Fee.
Good
Morning and good
morning.
morning to our amazing listeners.
Okay, so another news, math can end farmers' headmen crisis, says OAU Dawn. Maybe we should push that to Rhoda.
Yeah, I mean, I read that particular news headline, and it was detailed actually. I think I didn't expect too much detail as many journalists have learned to do, and just give us like hazy headlines and pockets of stories. But I think this particular, and it's not it's not surprising that it's a Don who is giving this suggestion. And then, of course, in the news, you can get additional details. So he's a researcher. So I was glad to see some details in what was shared. And I was very happy about the fact that it's actually details what Titi has just said about eliminating paper trails by using technology. What the Don was trying to say here is the day we start to think of mathematics and different from technology is when we actually have misunderstood what the whole concept of mathematics and what it does. Because what mathematics does is to help you to look at the variations, the computations, the permutations and combinations of things that help to solve real world problems. That's what mathematics does, which is why it is important that our math teachers are motivational people, are excitable people in our classrooms. And that's what the Dawn has shown in solving a real Nigerian problem, which is the issue of the headsman. And I agree with him. I thought I'd even shared with my husband some time ago that I didn't think that we were having the right conversations when it came to this particular concern, national concern of these headsmen and all that movement around it. And from my own perspective, I thought we were not discussing a critical thing that was causing this problem, which is climate change. And as a result of that, in this direct situation, desertification was what was leading people to move around. And so now we have found ourselves in that situation. How do we deal with climate desertification that's making them to move to where they'll find grains to help their cattle? The Dawn has even gone ahead to include, which is a critical thing, is that if we cannot solve the climate change situation, here's what we can do to keep track of where they are and where they're going. And we can use technology and mathematics to actually find them, support them, give them, sort of like suggestions and a plan that works for her, for, of course, not just meeting the grazing needs, but also meeting the population needs, because we do need all the needs that they rear.
Thank you so much. That's quite profound. And this is also going to, trigger, like you said, the need for us to take it into grassroots, because if math can solve this much, then we need to go back to the bedrock of the school system, where math teachers or people in charge of the mathematics subject should take steps to making it a lot more applicable to real life solution as opposed to passing exams or external exams. Thank you so much. So we have Someone saying, I got 88,000 naira to feed 100 people for 1 month.
I was reading through the details of this. So the scheme is actually a federal government scheme. The only difference is that the states implement. So they give them like 88,000 to feed 100 students. So they were giving feedback about how it's not enough, how sometimes even the quality of what is supplied to them, supplied in terms of the rice, has stones, the yam, expensive. So a lot of things. This feed the children has been rather a lot of controversy. I remember seeing recently on, I don't know if it's on one of the social media handles, saying the amount allocated for feeding children versus the total amount allocated for in the education sector. It's I don't know. It's one of those things that if you don't
See, what you're trying to say is that it's a racket. That there's a lot more money. We can multiply that money by 10, and that's what was allocated to to this school, to these children, and they didn't get it.
You become a mind reader, Rhoda.
Rhoda has come with a sledgehammer to the show today. Break it.
You see?
Don't just shake it, break it.
Actually, Rhoda, I hand over to you. Maybe you will say what I want to say.
Titi, no, continue.
Oh my goodness. Hey, you know what? We need to feed the children. Honestly, some children, it will be hard. We've talked about this before in terms of when you look at Maslow's law. Honestly, I can't. I'll be honest. As an adult, I cannot listen to you on an empty stomach. I cannot do anything. Rotimi knows nothing. That's why if I go anywhere, I go with food. Honestly, if I go anywhere, if you will not catch me not having food in my bag. So this is something I can. I'm telling you, you will not catch me not having food in my bag. I know they go. Once I know that I don't know the area, I don't know whether they will have food, I will pack my biscuits, pack my snacks, pack my sandwiches. So I understand the need to do this. But of course, you know how it is when we do not do things that are very transparent, things that are very accountable. We're not known for that. So a lot of things happen. Because this is something that you should be publishing these things. There should be a place where people can go and find out the money you gave to school, every single thing, very opened. So it's not prone to abuse for us to really do it well. So that's
Yeah,
what
Titi, when I saw this headline, 88,000 naira, I did the mathematics immediately, which is why
I did the math.
mathematics. So I'm like 20 school days, right? In a month. Sometimes some school days end up becoming 22, which is why we need to teach our children well so that they become analytical. No, the school days actually weekdays. So so they can question. Like when you want to give them a module of rice, they will tell you, please show me your budget. That is why we need to educate and take it seriously, because the feeding program is critical to the children's success in learning. Like Titi said, I cannot learn anything if my stomach is empty. And many times these children are coming to school empty. The reason why some of them come to school, a percentage of them come to school late, is because they're trying to eat first before they come to school. So these things are very important, and we shouldn't take them with a pinch of salt. Because when you do the mathematics immediately, what they are saying to that teacher or that person who has 100 children in their class per day is for that person to use what? 2,000 naira plus
naira.
to take it.
40 naira per child.
44 naira.
So what you are doing is you are buying pure water for 10 naira, buying one biscuit, and then buying that, and that's what you're calling a feeding program. Let's just be serious about it. So tell us what the feeding program is. If it's a snack, then we agree, then that's fine. But define it is what we're saying.
But what snack? Even gala is, I think the smaller one is 15 naira.
Oh, it's pure water. It's one biscuit, maybe like a Costa biscuit type of thing, or one of those ones. They're all still around 10 naira, 15 naira. and things like
Well,
that. So it's something, but then tell us what it is so we know.
well, you already know that sometimes all these things that we cry about, we know that from onset, these are interventions and innovation to build vendor engagement. It's not intervention to support feeding for children. So I feel sad that when we are innovative, the end result of our innovation most times is from a selfish undertone. So you find out that contracting these things, someone somewhere probably would have, looked at it that should be just you get something. So I don't know. It's a bad situation,
I
but
just need to add that hopefully this person is saying the truth. Sometimes some people, this is just some kind of noise in the middle of many. So one person says something, doesn't validate it. But I'm just hoping that this is actually I mean, the truth.
okay. The last one we can take today is stop funding disparity between public, private, varsity, government told.
Safety check.
It is quiet.
Why
I was
safety check?
thinking safety check. You've not said anything today, and I've not heard your voice. That's why. Even when I was about to say safety check,
I'm
that's why you've not
listening
said
No,
to
this
all
is
anything.
of
the one
you.
for safety check. This is the one for safety check and paying. Expert advises on inculcating values in pupils.
Yes, this one.
Safety
I
check.
always say that make our children have the right values. That is a multidimensional approach, a multi-stakeholder approach. Beginning beginning from the home front, as a parent, you model the right thing, you teach the right thing, right? The children go with it. Then the children go to school, they're also being taught the right thing. So they see that there's congruence, between what is being said at home and what is being said in school. Then the children go to their places of worship also, and these messages are also being reiterated. So, and then of course in the media. So by the time they keep seeing the same values being propagated across all these platforms, so they know to act a certain way because that is what the society is telling them to do. But if it is in negative values that are being propagated directly and indirectly, or if positive values are only emphasized at home and is not emphasized in other areas, you will see that the one who makes noise the most, the one that is louder, if the child is not strong enough, the child will be swayed in that direction. And that is why it's important to have that multi-stakeholder approach to value. So yes, I agree that these values should be inculcated in the pupils, most especially in these formative stages.
All right. Fantastic. Okay. So let's just go straight to the conversation of the day because of time. Today we're speaking, or we're going to be tackling the conversation around raising student billionaires. Raising student billionaires. Um, I know that we're teaching students in our schools, and I know that a lot is being said about financial literacy, entrepreneurship in schools. Sometimes there was an uproar as to making special subjects in the school to make the students economy and industry ready ahead of time. But then a twist to it is that can we actually look at what we're doing and evaluate and say, are we raising student employees? Are we raising student laborers? Are we raising student billionaires? Our positioning and perception of a child in school uniform, what are the thinking behind that? Do we really believe in these children's possibility? Do we really raise them with the consciousness of going out there to take territories and conquer domains? This is what we want to talk about today. For everyone, and we mean not just graduates, undergraduates, we talked about all through from the cradle point of it. All right, so that's where we will start. I'm going to ask Finn the first question. Are we raising student billionaires? Finn, this question is to you.
Okay, so far, um,
we're not really raising student billionaires in the context of what we need to have billionaires. Being a billionaire, or yeah, being a billionaire, I won't take it down and say millionaire. Being a billionaire has a lot to do with the mindset, has a lot to do with whether this person sees themselves as someone who can multiply wealth. So we're not raising in that context. We're not raising millionaires yet because we're still in the place. I think it was last week we talked about learning by rote, learning by repetition, learning by cramming, and so you literally have to come out to say, oh, this is how you can do this. This is how this works for them to be able to think, for them to be able to function. For us to raise student millionaires, for us to raise billionaires in our schools, in our homes, then there has to be a change in mindset. There has to be a creative mindset. There has to be an open mindset. There has to be a mind that looks at things. For a child to look at an object or something that isn't even existing yet, they think it up in their minds, they're able to conceptualize and they're able to bring it to life. That's how we have billionaires. If everybody wants to sell water, if everybody wants to sell clothes, if everybody wants to sell shoes to become a billionaire, then there's going to be a whole lot more competition and a whole lot more people to compete with in that sector, in that regard. So our billionaires come from what we help them to do. Are they thinking? Do they know how to think? Do they know how to conceptualize? Do they know how to call forth things out of the abstract and say, oh, this doesn't exist, but I wonder what it will look like if this exists, if this were a solution to a problem, or if we have children who are positively causing disruptive thinking, not in changing, not in causing chaos, but in there has to be a shift, or there could be a shift in this regard. It's been this way all the while. It's been so linear. It doesn't always have to be that linear. When we have that reflected in our curriculum, when we have that reflected in our classrooms, when we have that reflected at home, it's not just, oh, this happened and then the immediate response is that by rote, just do that. Children are able to come up with very creative ideas. I This reminds me of a friend of mine whose daughter just some weeks ago, with the lockdown and all of that, she was at home with her siblings, and out of boredom and thinking, oh, it's getting to the lockdown, they can't go to school, they're learning from home and all of that. And this girl, I think she's 10 years old, she developed her own game. She developed a game that is out now, has been produced for selling. That to me is a young lady who's on her way to becoming a billionaire even before she's 15 or she's 16 or like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very good introduction. We're raising student billionaires, and I think I should also ask Titi the same question. Titi, are we really raising student billionaires?
Okay, I want to uh, three things. They say that research has shown. Let me say that so that Rhoda will not attack me. Research has shown that most children, their money
See,
habits, their money habits are formed by the age of 7, and these habits are taken from silent cues from their parents. So if your parents, your mom goes to shops, and she doesn't go with a list, and then just keeps adding things. That's really how the child will grow up. Or if the mom is always saying, I don't have money, I don't have money, then they just grow up with some of those, habits. So when I look back at my life, my mom was quite industrious. It's amazing. So she worked in a company, but my mom was always selling something. Honestly, it's amazing. It was seasons where we were selling eggs, another season we were selling bread, another season we were selling drinks, another season we were selling all sorts of things. And my parents were sort of that when you wanted something, they will always ask you. So they used to give us an allowance. So, but anytime you wanted something, they will ask you how much of it have you saved. So they never gave you the full amount. So what that meant is we tended to have some bit of, wanting to make money, because your parents will always ask you for your own share of whatever it was. So that meant that when I looked through all my siblings, we all did something throughout school. One moment we were doing hostessing in weddings. One moment we were baking chin chin. When I tell people who my sister is someone in a bank, and I tell her that your boss used to sell chin chin in one secondary school down the road, they will say it's a lie. Do you understand? We've done all sorts of things, done chin chin, done cake, and all that. So the first thing I wanted to say that our habits are formed by our parents. If your parents allow you to be industrious, you most likely would be. And then if also your environment is such. So when you look at people that did a lot of things when they're in university, you find out that today they have businesses. But the only difference is that our parents made it seem as if it's only later on in life that you should use these things. As against, it can happen anytime. So when you think of what's happening now, where you see children earning millions. So you have one guy that he's one girl that her lemonade is sold in a lot of Walmart because she started it early. One person, he has bow ties that he started making money early. The guy that made the most money from YouTube, he's not yet 10. He and his dad make a lot of money from YouTube, because he reviews toys. So the mentality has changed, and it's what Fini started with, is a mindset. It's a mindset that your parents start to provide you with it initially, and other things around your environment helps you grow, and it's something that you must grow. We have it, is whether it's encouraged. A friend of mine told me of a very funny story of her son came back from secondary school, and he came back from secondary school with more money than they sent him to school with, and they were like, "Come, oh boy, how did you get this money?" He then told them that, you know what, where the water is from where the dormitory is a bit far, so people are always like reluctant to go. So he came up with this method where he goes, buys a lot of the water, keeps it in the dorm, and then when people want, he sells it at a premium. So do you understand? His two parents are business people. So it's the same thing I'm saying. But imagine that kind of thing encouraging that child. Because business and being millionaire is not really about making money. It's about solving problems and giving value. So I in school, this one was funny. When I was in secondary school, there was this very girl. To me, she was a rich kid. And she had lots of sweets. I don't know how she, thinking back, how did she get those sweets inside school, because of boarding school? But she always had lots of sweets. I mean, I am a sweet tooth now. So I went to meet her and offered to be her tutor. I offered to be her tutor in exchange for this sweet that she used to be. So I used to tutor her. Yeah, you're laughing. I used to tutor her way back in school in exchange for sweets. So just to step back to what I'm saying is that in the end, we have to start early in grooming our children about solving problems, giving value in exchange for something. We don't want them to wait till when they're in school, or when they finish university. They have that mindset, let me quickly go to school, get the knowledge, then wait in university. They can start at any time in giving value. And then the last thing I want to say is that apart from helping them to be millionaires, it was also about helping them preserve the money. I was shocked to see statistics that say that 70% of people that win the lottery lose the money in 3 years. 70%. They follow the lives of people that have won the lottery and found that 70% of them lose the money. It's this same financial literacy we are saying. So even if you don't use it to get money, if people give you money, you will lose it. I once listened to someone, a fund manager, come and say that majority of the people that leave their money to their children, within a period of time, they blow all the money. You'll be amazed. And it's the same issue if they have not been brought up with adequate financial literacy. The story they always talk about is a very famous story of Mike Tyson. It said that Mike Tyson had earned $300 million by the time he was 35. And he had blown it and declared bankruptcy when he was 37. And the writer of the article was saying, do you know what it is to spend $1 million? That we're not talking about, do you know what it is to spend $1 million for someone to blow $300 million, within a space of a few years. And it's same thing over and over again. You will see a lot of people that we grew up, they were rich. By the time we finish growing up, they are not as rich as we when they were young. So there's one thing about being able to earn, and there's another thing about growing and increasing your money or preserving your money. And it's important that we teach children, especially those of us that some people are growing their wealth to keep for their children. If you're not educating them along that way, within 3 years, 4 years, a few years, by the time they buy Gucci share, Gucci shoe, gold toilet, buy Lamborghini, buy, you understand, use champagne to pour on iPhone, the latest iPhone, to impress the crazy things that people do when they come into money. The last note before I hand over to other people, I was listening to Timmy Dakolo once talk about his story and winning the, what's that, was it The Voice that he did? No,
That's an idol.
he told me that when he first won, as he won like this, all his village people, they just came asking, that's what it is. Once you don't have any plans for it, people have plans for it. He said before he knew it, half of the money had gone. And then he just quickly said, you know what, after that, yes, he said before he knew he had not done anything, half of the money had gone. And then he then went, borrowed himself brain, and then used it and enrolled in a music school where he then went to learn to properly write music. Because he said when he started, he was a choir boy, that's what he was. He then learned how to write music and used the money to do something that will help him increase his, in quotes, earning power. On that note, I hand over to other people.
Wow. Okay. Finn is looking stunned. 300 million in 2 years of that is terrestrial things, man. Terrestrial powers. Of course, sometimes
All
there are
more times 1 million.
But that it's a system there. It happened to Michael Jackson as well. Some of the things they get into, there are contracts of retainership where everybody also plug in to fleece them legally and lawfully. So when you start living an expensive lifestyle like that, imagine you're hiring a loft, and that loft is going for X amount of dollars, and then they're keeping it for you for 2-3 years, and you are not probably even visiting the loft more than once in a year. Think about that. Well, it is what it is. I trust Rhoda. Hey, Rhoda has $300 million. Come on. I will say it again. All right. So raising.
Believe me, a lot will happen.
The accountant in you will rise to the occasion. And then the curriculum theories to follow. All right, so raising student billionaires. I want us to take a shift into, and I'm bringing this
immediately.
Question. Yeah, I'm bringing this back to the place of the schools. We've talked a little bit about parents listening to Finn, listening to Titi. I want to take this to you, Rhoda and Ugochi. Now, talking about parents, right? I want you to try to open us up to the role or the approach parents can take into getting this reality, to happen. Apart from the things that Titi and Fia said, Rhoda and Ugochi, I want us to dwell on the parenting or the parent point of view. Yes. So let's start with Rhoda and then we'll go to Ugochi.
Rotimi, I'm not sure if I'm a perfect person to ask about parents' approach, because I'm always in the world of, because the topic is raising student billionaires, and students, immediately we use the word students, we are placing that individual in the school system. So I'm already anchored in the school system.
Okay, please carry on with the school. Actually, you're on course. Just carry on with the school. There is another question I wanted to ask, but fine. Yes, please carry on.
Yeah, and even just to tie the both of them together is to say that when you want something to be you want something lasting, more lasting, you want something that, from like I always say, from a nation building perspective, if that's your goal every time, what you want to do is to not make assumptions of what's happening at home, or whether this parent has skill or not. Because how many parents did have parents like Titi's mother? So how many? So it's not a very simple thing to do, which is why a school is always a unifier, and that's what it should be. Or education should be a unifier, and that's where we talk about equity. But I think from a school's perspective, raising student billionaires, are we raising them? I would say no. And the reason why I say no, and again, is in general terms. So please let me not be attacked based on specific different examples that are of schools or school systems that are raising student billionaires. I do believe that there are schools that are doing that, and I actually know a few off my head. So no need for branding or advertisement. So no, and that's because we didn't quite look at the concept of competency-based curriculum, and that's where you begin to see a kind of curriculum delivery that expands the three core areas of things that we should be looking at, of skill, of things that we should be looking at as learning outcomes, which is our KSA, the knowledge, skills, and attitudes. In the world of knowledge, what should the child know and how should they get that knowledge? In the world of skills, what skills do they require to use that knowledge and to transform the knowledge into actions or actionable or very viable, or let me put it, very viable activities, and then the attitude that leads you to carrying that whole concept of everything I know, the skills I require, and they say there's no good competency without character. So all of those things tie together, and the concept of competency based curriculum is what leads us to raising billionaires, to raising people who become ultimately entrepreneurs. I know that there was a time there was a clamor for entrepreneurship coming into the curriculum, and it did come. You can find it in secondary school WAEC list of subjects. You can also find it as one of the compulsory core subjects in before you graduate from universities in Nigeria. So that has been done. But what it has done is to place the burden on a particular subject area or field area, instead of placing the burden on every teacher's table, through the curriculum. And so that's where the challenge is. And so if we can look at our curriculum, Kenya is already doing it. And that's the funny thing. Kenya has gone ahead and has implemented a competency-based curriculum, whereby a child learns something. Immediately after he learns that concept, what does he do? He engages in activities that makes him to use and apply that concept. And so if it requires him making, building, creating, innovating, solving, we talked about how mathematics can solve real world problems. That's what mathematics should be. I always frown at any time a mathematics class does not have a word problem. It's a wrong concept to teach math in every day without giving the children a word problem to solve. That's how you teach the competency-based curriculum comes in, because what it tries to do is to make sure that you are teaching relevancy. You are teaching what is relevant at the time. Look at that news headline that we had today of the lecturer carrying the baby. Yeah, I was excited. It was a good thing. But I asked myself, when I read the headline, the news, the lecturer was actually dictating notes to university students. Who does that? That you cannot build and billionaires that way. You can't. And so it's the world of competent designing a curriculum that ensures that not only do you learn the knowledge, the skills, and the attitudes, you also are able to create, things, create, innovate, invent things that will allow you to build your pockets, and then ultimately increase. But if you look at Elon Musk's story, and it's not nice that every time we use an Elon Musk, but let's even just use a Dangote story and all of these people. In Dakota's world, he's a billionaire, but was he a student billionaire? Did we raise it? What was there for us? What's a lesson for everybody here? From that particular story, success story. We have the Tony Lumulus of Nigeria. Tony is not your great orator, but guess what he's done? And so there's so many things. So it's in the world of competency-based curriculum that we need to now start rethinking the curriculum. And goes to me, I've been screaming this out loud. We don't have a curriculum. Believe me when I say it, and I know it's controversial, and I'm not in the space of trying to say a nice thing, nice to say. We don't. Period. And when we do have one, from a national perspective, then we will now start thinking about creating student billionaires. As is, what it seems is like we are just trying to and something, I don't know what to say. I'm trying to be careful here, but for me, I'm just it's not a matter of are we getting are we going to are we looking at getting billionaires. What we should do is to guarantee billionaires. That's what we need to do, not to get, but to guarantee. Let me end there.
Thank you so much. It's like you already know what was in my head and my heart. Because the truth is, every school is making a promise. Every educational institution is making a promise. So once you open the doors to students, you open the doors to parents, you're already making a promise, whether you are conscious of it or not. And the promise is that there is a guarantee based on your interaction with us. And the same thing should happen in the education system of a country. It must create a guarantee. It is that guarantee that develops the education model that the country is going to adopt, which is where people now cascade it to scheme of work / curriculum and as the case may be. That's so profound.
Is it me or Mr. Ritten is
Oh,
frozen?
good. He's frozen. We shall not call him Dr. Freeze. I think Sexy Chick, I think you should definitely your thoughts.
Okay. So I'll start by using an example. One of my colleagues, a Mandela Washington fellow in Akwa Ibom, he last year he got a grant from the U.S. consulate because of a program that he designed, and the program was to bring children to a class, train them on how to make certain things like soap, hand sanitizers, and all those sorts of stuff that they were going to use in their house, and also that they are going to sell so that they can donate the funds to homes that have less privileged children. Now, designing a program like that was out of school, that the children knew they were going to use, and that was also going to help other children like them who are in circumstances beyond their control. It gave these children a sense of responsibility. I've observed that project for the past few months now, and I've seen the children create what they are using. I've seen them go and even donate these materials to other children and even make sales from it. Now, what that does to a child that goes through something like that at this point, because these were children, they had children in primary school and then they had those in early secondary. It just does something to their mind that anywhere they go to, they would always think of how to solve a problem and how to make an impact in society. And so if we want students to become billionaires, we must begin to design programs that cause them to solve problems and by extension make an impact, so that children begin to see that yes, you would make money, but when you solve problems, it's definite that this money is going to come. When you do things for people outside those within your immediate sphere of influence, it's going to cause a ripple effect in society. And so when we have children that are groomed with that mindset, it just makes things easy. It just does something to them growing up. So I think that aside maybe programs like that are out of school, if the schools themselves can also begin to see how to inculcate such programs so that it's not just theory, because many times it seems like we just have theory and then there's no practice to back it up. And when there is no practice, people would come out of school and say, oh, those things they taught us, we're not using it in day-to-day life. But there are ways that these things can be passed across and students can actually feel how it can be used, how it can be implemented in their day-to-day life. So I just thought to add that.
Yeah, I mean, totally agree with you. I mean, so for me, one of the when I was growing up, one of the key competencies I wanted to have was commercialization. I wanted to be able to commercialize my thoughts because I know, the nexus between idealism and realism is that there isn't really any reality without that wasn't born out of an idea. And so how would I put it? A cohort of ideas you would usually just birth something real. And so some of the key competencies I wanted to have as a person was definitely commercial awareness. I wanted to be able to communicate. I wanted to serve as in a function of leadership. I wanted to be able to do things that people would trust me for. And most importantly, I wanted to be results oriented. Okay, so every time at one point, what result am I getting and what's the feedback I'm getting? And this is where I feel like the gaps have been for in our education system. And I agree with you, Safety Chick. Imagine that kind of program. And the interesting thing about that is that program can actually work within the school system by just literally running away from excess theory. There's no theory practice without theory, yes. But in the world of skills acquisition and knowledge acquisition and attitude development, you've got to be in the world of practice. So every time you're teaching students and you have done too much talk, you the educator, and the students have done little work, or they have done too much writing and little engagement in solving a problem, then we're in trouble. And I like the idea of that, and that's something I don't know, just your friend that's working on, your colleague that's working on, say, that's something that we need to just bring back into the ground, which is why I keep saying we don't have one. Our curriculum has to literally say to everybody how a child is going to convert the use of their figure of speech in their expertise in the use of figures of speech into writing, into bookmaking. It's everything in that line of every concept you learn. It has a space in production. So from content acquisition to production, which is outcomes. And that's how we need to think of our curriculum. Until we do that, until every child knows that, hey, when I write an excerpt or I write a memo, it can become a collection of memos that becomes a magazine or a publication or a book that we can write. If I have a concept of in fact, no need to go into the details, but everything that leads from skills acquisition, knowledge acquisition, skill acquisition, attitude acquisition, or attitude development towards production.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's just been a thought-provoking conversation, and I think as we try to bring a wrap to it, I'll ask Titi to do us the favor of reading some of the comments from our audience. So Titi, if you don't mind, just in a minute or two, could you read some of the comments that we have? Thank you.
Yeah, hello, Gideon. Yes, Gideon is saying competency and skills are built through doing. More doing, practice, less theory. And that's what Rhoda was saying. Honestly, so deep and so profound. We need to move from the talking to the doing. Thank you very much, Gideon. Yes, there is no national perspective. Singapore gives a clear blueprint. I like what Rhoda said as well, whereby it's one thing for you to have some children to be lucky and have parents that are, give them this financial literacy, register them for the webinar. But the way to really make the impact is once we push things through the schools. That way we have more people doing it, because this thing's a thing of numbers. So so that's really profound. Chinwe Princess Ofo says, I love Rhoda's contribution on the competency-based curriculum and KSA, knowledge, skills, and attitude. When this curriculum is created, we must have a means of measuring its effectiveness and improving on it. Thank you very much, Chinwe, for that. contribution. Yes, so Gideon is agreeing with Chiri and Rod as well, saying problem solving and project based curriculum. That's really what we need. The curriculum, like Rhoda says, is not project based. No, Rosemary, I've not finished the last comment. The curriculum, like Rhoda says, is not designed to raise billionaires. It's just designed to raise people that can pass tests. Yes,
It's so that's true.
people that can pass test scale. So we don't have a curriculum from a national perspective. Yes, our one in-house PhD doctor. That's the people person should be calling doctor. Wrote me, not me. Me that my
Oh,
other who just want to pass the paper. It's Rhoda that is still using her brain. Rhoda is still doing PhD course.
oh God, to see.
In the in the world of knowledge, what should a child know? If the world of skills, what skills should a child have? Yes. Yes. Yeah. You see, Dr. Rhoda is just flying. We must not make an assumption of what is happening at home. Honestly, it's amazing what a lot of things our parents didn't teach us that we had to go and learn in the world. So we must make that assumption. I agree that school must be
Titi,
the
even
unifying.
our yes, I agree with you. What our parents didn't teach us, but what our teachers didn't teach us too. And then we now got to the workspace and we started learning all over again.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Nah.
We really need to help. Um, I know that there was a one time CBN was trying to push for financial literacy being part of the curriculum. I don't know how far that has gotten. I know it hasn't been approved, but there was a lot of talks about it. But I think it's just beyond financial literacy. Just to bring it home, it's giving them the skills that they need to solve problems and create value. That's really what it is. Because you must always be in a place where you can see the opportunities to create the value, to solve the problem that brings the answer. Most of the billionaires that we have today, a lot of them didn't really start out with I'm waking up being a billionaire. A lot of them started out, most of them, with looking for a problem to solve, solving a problem that then they now saw the opportunity to make it big. So we need to raise that mindset of solving problems, creating value wherever they are. Rotimi,
At
back
this
to
point in
you.
time, I'd like us just to have our parting shot. So Titi has said one. I would like Finn and Safety Chick to just give their parting shots, and then we'll end with Rhoda as well.
Okay, so I would say that in raising student billionaires, we shouldn't just raise them to make the wealth or to make the money. We should
Finn, are you there?
raise them on wealth management. So not just wealth making, but wealth management, so that a few years down the line, they're not also examples of people who made money but squandered it.
Fantastic. Safety Chick.
Okay, so I would say that we should always ensure that whatever we teach children in terms of making money, we must also make sure that they have some opportunity to practice so that it's not just theory, theory, theory.
Fantastic. And the doctor in the building, Rhoda Odigbo.
One of the things that Elon Musk's mother would said she characterized the way she raised her kids was that they would get their hands dirty in doing a lot of things, and then in engaging with materials, whatever it was, and then they would challenge status quo. I think for me, we should allow children to air their views. This place of student choice and voice cannot be overemphasized as we use in this Nigerian language parlance in curriculum. Student choice and voice. These people know what to do. We stifle their thoughts. We stifle their innovative selves by just throwing all kinds of things at them. So when we amplify student choice and voice, for everyone who's listening and wants to be able to do it in their own classroom. Amplify student choice and voice, partner with your students, create a classroom culture that ends in production. Every time you teach something and they have to create something, you are actually raising a student billionaire.
Thank you so much. I'm afraid that's all we could take for this week, and that's all for the last Friday of the month of March. We're going to end March in style, and we'll be back here next week, God willing, and we'll continue our conversation in a great and in a grand style. But till then, the ladies have a message for you, as we always end the show, as we end the week as well. All right, ladies, over to you.
It's always a great
Always
morning
a great morning
on the Good Morning Education Show.
I can imagine Seti Chick. She's just blushing and smiling with her white set of teeth. She loves that part of the show. Listen, next week, catch you. And until then,
Bye.
keep raising billionaires. Bye.
Nice weekend,
That's right.
everyone. And don't forget